I'm Alexis, 28 years old. The scars on my back carry the weight of a night when my brother Kevin beat me with a belt until I crumpled on our basement floor. When I woke, bloodied, my mother whispered, "Be grateful we feed you." Now I help abuse survivors find healing and show them justice strikes harder than any belt. If you're watching this, yearning for a safe family, please like and subscribe as I share my journey to a justice stronger than pain. I grew up in suburban Denver, where our life looked perfect to outsiders. My dad died when I was 4, and by 6, my mom Karen married Frank. He brought his son Kevin into our home. Kevin was 8, just 2 years older than me. We lived in a stunning 2-story house with a white picket fence and a huge backyard. Frank, a bank manager, always wore sharp suits and carried a briefcase that smelled of big business. Mom quit her job to become a full-time housewife. Those early years felt normal. I loved Christmases with gifts piled under a flawless tree, birthday parties with matching decorations, and amusement park trips where Frank won stuffed animals for Kevin and me. Mom glowed with happiness, telling friends how lucky she was to find Frank after losing Dad. But beneath the surface, trouble brewed. Things I was too young to understand. Frank demanded perfection in everything. The house had to sparkle when he got home. Dinner was set for exactly 6:30 p.m. Kevin and I needed straight A's in school. Mom had to justify every penny she spent, showing receipts to Frank each weekend. "Your stepfather provides for us," she'd say when I grumbled about his rules. "We show gratitude by doing things his way." Over time, I saw Kevin change from a friendly stepbrother into something darker. By 14, he mimicked Frank's stiff walk, sharp tone, and need to control others. Frank beamed with pride, saying, "That's my boy, strong like his dad." At 11, I felt uneasy alone with Kevin. He'd glare if I touched the TV remote or sat in his favorite couch spot. He never hit me back then, but the threat hung heavy. "Don't be so sensitive," Mom said if I mentioned feeling scared. Siblings always bicker. It wasn't just bickering, and I think Mom knew it deep down. I saw her tense when Frank scolded Kevin for being too soft with me. Her forced cheer hid our fights from Frank's notice. Mom changed too. The fierce single mom I knew grew anxious, desperate to please Frank. She ditched her bright clothes for dull colors he liked better. She cut her hair short because Frank preferred it. She stopped calling her college friends after Frank called them a bad influence. One night at 13, I overheard them arguing in the kitchen. I couldn't catch the words, just Frank's harsh whisper and Mom's pleading tone. Next morning, she wore a long-sleeved shirt in the summer heat. When she grabbed the cereal, her sleeve slipped, showing a bruise on her arm. Our eyes locked for a moment, and I saw shame and fear in her face, new to me. "I bumped into the door," she said, pulling her sleeve down. "So clumsy." That moment hit me hard. Our home wasn't normal or safe. As a kid in an abusive house, I had no words for it, no way to escape. I just knew our perfect family image was a lie. By 17, Kevin's cold distance turned to outright aggression. At 13, I was awkward, juggling middle school while tiptoeing at home. Kevin was Frank's star, shining in school and baseball. His successes were flaunted to friends as proof of Frank's great parenting. One Tuesday, I spread my science project, a styrofoam solar system, across the dining table for a deadline. Kevin stormed in, mad from a lost baseball game. He saw my project and swiped it to the floor. "This table's for eating, not your dumb school stuff," he snapped as planets rolled away. "Mom said I could work here," I protested, dropping to my knees to grab the scattered planets. Kevin bent close, his voice a low whisper. "If you tell Mom or Dad, you'll regret it. No one will believe you. I'm the good kid, remember?" When I tried telling Mom, she brushed it off. "Siblings fight, Alexis. Kevin's stressed with college apps. Just stay out of his way when he's tense." That was my plan, dodge Kevin, skip fights, fade away. But vanishing at home was impossible. Kevin always found excuses to rage. If I took too long in the bathroom, breathed loud on movie night, or beat his English grades, his weak spot, Frank started letting Kevin handle punishments on business trips. "Kevin's the man of the house while I'm gone," he'd say before leaving. "You ladies better listen." Mom nodded like always, and my stomach twisted, sensing trouble. Kevin first hurt me over nothing. I got home 5 minutes late from a study group. He waited at the door, dramatically checking his watch. You're late, he said flatly. Just 5 minutes. Bus delay, I replied, trying to slip past to the stairs. He blocked me and slapped my face hard, no warning. The shock hit worse than the sting. Be on time next, he said coolly, like chatting about weather, not hitting his sister. I fled to my room, tears flowing, cheek on fire. When Mom got home from her library job, I showed the red mark. Oh honey, she sighed. Punctuality matters here. Try harder, and this won't happen. Her words stung more than the slap. Right then, I knew I was alone at home. I reached out to Mrs. Garcia once, a teacher who saw me pulling back in class. Home's rough, I said, too scared for more. Your parents okay, Alexis? She asked, worried. Not them. I began, then froze. How to say my brother tortured me with family approval? It sounded crazy to me. Tell me anything, she said. But naming Kevin changed her face. Kevin Williams? Our top student. He tutored freshmen yesterday. Her doubt was obvious. Kevin charmed everyone at school. No one saw his home cruelty. I built survival tricks. I learned schedules to avoid Kevin alone. I did chores early. I studied for top grades, no punishment excuses. I read faces and bodies like a pro, spotting Frank's bad moods or Kevin's frustration hunts. The isolation crushed me. Few friends, since I couldn't visit them, and shame kept me from inviting any. What if they saw? Would they help or bail on the mess? For Kevin's 17th birthday, Frank gave him a fancy Italian leather belt with a heavy buckle. A man's belt, Frank said proudly as Kevin unwrapped it. Quality that lasts. Kevin traced the leather, smirking slightly. Frank slapped his shoulder. Beautiful things teach lessons too. Their shared look chilled me. It felt like a secret code excluding Mom and me, but pulling us in. That belt stood for our family's rot. I didn't know yet, but seeing him wear it to school next day shook my hands as I packed lunch. One cold October Friday in Denver, Frank and Mom went to his bank gala, leaving Kevin in charge. At 17, he acted too serious, pacing the kitchen in khakis and shirt, watch-checking like a boss, not a brother watcher. Mom left lasagna in the fridge, he said. Kitchen spotless after you eat. I nodded quietly, eyes down, my learned habit. Looking Kevin in the eyes sparked his rage, like I was challenging him. I waited until he went upstairs to grab the lasagna, starving after skipping lunch to finish math homework. The center was still cold, no matter how long I heated it. Carrying my plate, my sock snagged on the rough linoleum. I stumbled, catching myself, but my milk glass crashed to the floor. The shattering sound echoed through the house. My heart pounded as I dropped to my knees, scrambling to pick up glass shards with shaky hands. A cut on my finger bled, but I didn't care. All I thought was, clean it before Kevin comes. Hurry. Too late. His heavy steps stormed down the stairs. He stood in the doorway, his eyes cold and calculating. What did you do? His voice was too calm. It was an accident, I whispered, kneeling in the mess. I'll clean it up. Kevin pulled out his phone, and my stomach sank. Dad needs to hear about this. Please, I begged. It's just a glass. I'll replace it with my allowance. He ignored me, already calling. I heard Frank's annoyed tone, interrupted at his event. Kevin made the broken glass sound like a crime, stressing my carelessness and disrespect. I couldn't hear Frank's words, but Kevin's face turned darker, almost pleased. Yes, sir. I'll handle it, he said, pocketing the phone, eyes locked on me. Dad says you need a lesson in responsibility and respect. Fear froze me. I knew what that meant in our house. I said sorry. It won't happen again. Get up, Kevin snapped, ignoring my plea. Basement. Now. The basement, soundproof, with thick walls, where Frank's unused gym was a punishment zone, hidden from neighbors. Kevin, please. I tried again. It was an accident. He grabbed my arm, his grip bruising, and dragged me forward. Now Alexis. He marched me down the basement stairs, flicking on harsh fluorescent lights. The room felt like a prison. The weight bench loomed in the center, waiting. Bend over the bench, he ordered, his voice flat, like a robot following instructions. I froze, terrified, and he shoved me toward it. Dad said use whatever it takes to teach you. The soft hiss of leather as he pulled off his birthday belt, the one Frank gave him, sent panic racing through me. He'd slapped me before, even used a spoon once, but never that belt. This is for your own good, he said, mimicking Frank. Count out loud. The first strike hit my back, stealing my breath. The leather burned through my t-shirt like fire. 1. I gasped, tears streaming down. The second hit came harder, lower. 2. I choked. By the 5th, I was sobbing, legs shaking. By the 8th, warm blood soaked my shirt. He was drawing blood. Kevin, stop, I begged. It's too much. Weak, he sneered. Like Mom. No wonder Dad says you're nothing. The next hit was brutal, my pain fueling him. I lost count around 12, vision fading, mind slipping. His cold voice echoed as I blacked out. Get up. We're not done. I couldn't move. My body shut down, shielding me from unbearable pain. I collapsed over the bench. Darkness a strange relief. I woke in the basement, Mom there, pale and shocked, helping me sit. Why did you provoke him? She whispered, as if I'd caused this. Mom. I rasped, throat raw. He really hurt me. She glanced at the stairs, scared Frank or Kevin might hear. You know how much this dinner meant to Frank, Mom said. Now he left early because of you. I stared, stunned, my back throbbing, blood soaking my shirt. Me? I just dropped a glass. Her face tightened, the look she got when picking Frank over me. Why can't you behave? Be grateful we feed you, give you a home. Some kids have nothing. Her words hurt worse than Kevin's belt. Be grateful we feed you, like basic care was a gift, not a parent's duty. She helped me upstairs but didn't treat my wounds or call a doctor. She slipped into her room where Frank was changing from his gala clothes. Alone, I stumbled to the bathroom, locked the door, and painfully peeled off my ruined shirt. The mirror showed Kevin's work. Red welts slashed across my back, some bleeding, the belt's edge clear in the marks. Bruises darkened around the cuts. Staring at my family's cruelty in the mirror, something hardened in me. This wasn't discipline or love. It was abuse, plain and simple. I had to escape before it killed me. Next morning, I dressed for school, layering a loose sweatshirt over a soft t-shirt to protect my wounds. Every move was pain, but I had to go. Home was a cage. School was my only freedom. Frank and Kevin were gone on a fishing trip, a brief relief. Mom avoided my eyes at breakfast, guilt in her silence. She didn't ask about my pain or offer help. I packed your lunch, she mumbled as I left. At school, I drifted through morning classes, exhausted, pain clouding my mind. Sitting in hard chairs was torture, each shift sparking new agony. By fourth period, tears threatened to spill, my focus gone. Then came gym class, where I couldn't hide. Changing clothes was required in front of others. Alexis, Miss Thompson, my gym teacher, called as I tried to sneak by. Rules say proper gym clothes, or it's your grade. I'm not feeling well, I said, clutching my books like a shield. Can I sit out? She eyed my pale face, the shadows under my eyes. Come to my office. In her small office by the locker room, she pointed to a chair. This is the 3rd time this month you've skipped class. Everything okay? Her concern broke me. Tears came before I could stop them. I can't change, I whispered. My back. Her face turned serious. Are you hurt? What happened? I wavered, years of silence battling my need for help. If I show you, will you keep it secret? A kid's plea, impossible for her to keep. Miss Thompson knelt by me, voice soft but firm. Alexis, if you're hurt, I have to help. That might mean telling others to keep you safe. That moment changed everything. I turned, slowly lifting my sweatshirt and t-shirt, showing Kevin's damage. Miss Thompson gasped sharply. My God, Alexis. Who did this? My brother. I said, the words odd after years of quiet. Last night. Over a broken glass. Everything moved fast after that. Miss Thompson took me to the school nurse, who grimly photographed my welts and cuts. The principal came, then Child Protective Services. A social worker arrived, kind but straight. Has this happened before? Who was home? Do your parents know? Are you safe going home? That last question broke my silence. No, I admitted. I'm not safe there at all. They took me to a hospital for a full exam. The doctor, a gentle woman with silver-streaked hair, cleaned my wounds, saying some would scar. "This isn't discipline," she said firmly. "This is abuse." That word, abuse, hung in the sterile room. It named what I'd endured for years, proving it wasn't normal, wasn't okay, wasn't my fault. At the hospital, authorities reached out to my parents and Kevin. Their response was no surprise. Denial, downplaying, finger-pointing. "Alexis always exaggerates," Frank told the social worker. I later learned. "She's just acting out for attention." Mom backed him up, but her nervous glances at Frank betrayed her. "We're a loving family," she said. "I can't imagine how this happened." Kevin, coached by Frank, played the dutiful brother. "She was disrespectful, destructive," he claimed. "I gave her a light punishment," as Dad said. "She must have hurt herself worse to make it look bad." But the doctor's report told the truth. My injuries showed repeated, forceful belt strikes, 15 to 20 hits, he estimated. That night, I didn't go back to the picket fence house. Instead, I went to the Johnsons, foster parents used to emergency cases. Their home was simple but cozy, with rules on the fridge and soft blankets everywhere. "You're safe here," Mrs. Johnson said, showing me a small room with pale blue walls. "No one will hurt you." For the first time in years, I slept without fear gripping my gut. The legal process dragged on. Sarah, my guardian ad litem, was a lawyer focused on my best interests. She patiently explained every step, easing my fears. "Will I see them in court?" I asked her once. "Yes," she said gently. "But I'll be right there and you'll be safe." Frank hired a fancy lawyer to fight the custody order. They paraded witnesses praising Frank's community status, Kevin's honor roll, Mom's church work. Pressure to take back my story was intense. Relatives I barely knew called, begging me not to ruin the family. Church members sent letters, saying I'd misunderstood. Frank's lawyer painted me as a troubled teen lying for attention. Some days, I nearly broke under the weight of being called a liar, a troublemaker. But seeing my healing scars in the mirror fueled my strength. Miss Thompson visited me at the Johnsons, bringing homework and news. "I'm proud of you," she said. "This takes real courage." Sarah prepped me for court, teaching me what to expect, how to answer clearly, stay calm if Frank or Kevin glared. "Just tell the truth," she said. "It's on your side." As court neared, nightmares worsened. I'd wake gasping, feeling belt strikes again. Mrs. Johnson brought warm milk, sat with me, never pushing, always patient. The day before court, Sarah called with big news. "The prosecutor wants to charge Frank too," she said. "Your brother's history and your injuries suggest he ordered this abuse." For the first time, I dared hope justice was possible. That the court would see past our perfect family mask to the darkness that nearly broke me. The juvenile courtroom was smaller than TV shows, solemn with wood paneling and a state seal behind the judge. Every sound echoed. Pens scratching, papers shuffling, chairs creaking. I sat by Sarah, steadying my breath as she taught. "Don't look at them yet," she said. "Focus on me or the judge." I stole one glance to my right. Frank sat pristine in his suit, face calm. Mom looked small, hunched, like she wanted to vanish. Kevin, in a blue blazer that aged him past 17, stared ahead, jaw tight. The prosecutor, a sharp woman with silver glasses, opened, laying out the case against Kevin and now Frank too. "What happened to me wasn't discipline," the prosecutor declared. "It was a brutal attack that left a 13-year-old unconscious and bleeding. Evidence will prove this wasn't a one-time act but part of a pattern of abuse, enabled by the adults meant to protect her." Frank's lawyer pushed their story. I was a troubled teen spinning wild tales. Kevin was a stellar young man, following his dad's orders with reasonable discipline. Any injuries were accidents or self-inflicted later. "The Williams are a respected family," he said smoothly. "Breaking up this home over a difficult child's claims would be a terrible injustice." When my turn came, Sarah squeezed my hand before I faced the stand. Swearing to tell the truth felt huge, a vow to myself as much as the court. I started with that awful night, detailing the beating. The prosecutor guided me gently, asking questions to clarify, giving me space when my voice shook. "What did your mom say when she saw you hurt?" she asked. She told me to be grateful they feed me. I said, voice steady. She said, some kids have nothing. A quiet gasp rippled through the courtroom, hushed by the judge. Frank's lawyer cross-examined me, aiming to tear down my story. He brought up small school issues, arguing with teachers, talking in class. He pressed why I hadn't reported earlier abuse, hinting I was lying. Isn't it true, he said. You were mad about discipline for breaking rules and exaggerated to get attention? No, I said, staring him down. I broke a glass by accident. My brother beat me with a belt until I passed out. That's the truth. Others testified next. Miss Thompson shared how she found my injuries, her voice catching as she described my fear of changing for gym. The nurse and doctor gave medical evidence, their calm words hitting harder than tears. The doctor showed photos of my injuries on a screen for the judge and lawyers. These wounds, she said, come from repeated belt strikes with serious force, far beyond any reasonable punishment. Some cuts needed adhesive to close, some will scar forever. The courtroom went silent as the images appeared. Even Frank's lawyer froze, his pen still above his notepad. I didn't look at the photos, I'd lived their reality. Instead, I watched the shocked faces seeing them for the first time. Disbelief, horror. The social worker who spoke to Kevin testified next, sharing his troubling words. When asked about the beating's severity, Kevin said, "She needs to learn respect like I did." When I asked what he meant, he wouldn't explain. Frank's lawyer objected often, but the judge let it go, saying Kevin's words showed the family's dynamic. Then came the moment I feared. Kevin's testimony. He took the stand confident, always the favored one. But the prosecutor's steady questions shook him. "Did you hit your sister with a belt that night?" she asked directly. "I disciplined her as Dad told me," Kevin said, using his lawyer's scripted words. "How many times did you hit her?" He paused. "I don't know exactly. Maybe more than 5. More than 10. Another pause. "It was needed to teach her." "Did you stop when she bled?" Kevin's cool broke. "I didn't see blood." "Did you stop when she passed out?" His eyes flicked to Frank, unsure. "She was acting dramatic. I thought she was pretending." The prosecutor held up the belt in an evidence bag. "Is this the belt you used?" Kevin nodded, then said yes when told nods don't record. "Your dad gave you this belt for your birthday, right?" "Yes." "Did he show you how to use it for discipline?" The question hung heavy. Kevin glanced at Frank, confused by what he saw. He faltered, uncertain. "Kevin," the prosecutor pushed. "Has your dad ever used this belt or another to discipline you?" Objection. Frank's lawyer shot up. "Relevance. It shows household patterns, Your Honor," the prosecutor argued. "It proves if Frank directed this abuse." "Overruled," the judge said. "Answer the question." Kevin slumped, his practice lines failing. "Yes," he admitted softly. "Dad believed in strict discipline." "Did he ever hit you hard enough to bleed?" A long silence. "Accidents happen in discipline." "Did he tell you to discipline me the same way?" "He said make sure she learns respect," Kevin mumbled. "Pain's the only teacher sometimes." The courtroom stirred. Frank's jaw clenched. Mom hid her face in her hands. Mom's testimony shocked me most. She shuffled to the stand, eyes down. Voice so soft the clerk made her repeat her oath. At first, she repeated the family story, saying she didn't know how bad it was until she found me in the basement. "What did you do when you saw her unconscious, bleeding?" the prosecutor asked. "I helped her upstairs," Mom said. "Did you get her medical help?" "No." "Why not?" Mom glanced at Frank, then at her twisting hands. Frank said it wasn't needed. "Mrs. Williams," the prosecutor said softly, "has Frank ever hit you?" His lawyer objected, but the judge let it stand. Mom sat silent so long, I thought she'd refuse. Then she nodded faintly. "For the record, has your husband abused you?" "Yes," she whispered, like it broke her. "How long?" "Since our first year married. 8 years." Her voice steadied slightly. "Were you scared of what'd happen if you helped Alexis?" "Yes," she said, tears falling. "Frank said it'd ruin us, Kevin's college, everything." "So you told your hurt daughter to be grateful for food?" Mom met my eyes then. "I was wrong," she said clearly. Terribly wrong. I'll regret it forever. The judge called a short break after Mom spoke. When court restarted, Frank took the stand, calm but desperate now. He denied ordering Kevin to beat me, said my injuries were accidents, claimed he was a strict but caring dad. But the evidence, medical records, school testimony, Kevin's admissions, Mom's abuse confirmation, buried his lies. The judge's ruling was fierce, anger barely contained. This wasn't just one harsh punishment. It was a home where violence controlled and terrified. She sent Kevin to juvenile detention with mandatory therapy, a heavy penalty for a first-time offender with his grades. Frank faced child endangerment and domestic violence charges, with adult court next. Mom got ordered to parenting classes and therapy, her visits with me supervised, to be reviewed in 6 months. For me, the key was staying in foster care, with a permanent home to be set later. As the bailiff took Kevin away, he glanced back, his eyes confused, maybe hinting at future remorse. Frank stared forward, his perfect mask cracked. Mom, after whispering to her new lawyer, asked Sarah if we could talk privately someday. That's Alexis's choice, Sarah said, her hand steady on my shoulder. I didn't respond then, overwhelmed by the moment, by the public truth of my pain, by knowing I wasn't weak or deserving of abuse. Justice spoke louder than my fear. 2 weeks later, I left the Johnsons for a permanent foster home with the Williams. No relation, though the name unsettled me at first. They'd fostered kids for 15 years, living in a cozy 4-bedroom house 30 minutes from my school, so I could stay there. Carol and Robert Williams, in their 50s, had grown kids and endless patience. Their home ran on simple rules: respect privacy, talk openly, and learn from mistakes, not punishment. When I broke a mug doing dishes, panic hit me hard, expecting punishment despite their kind words. Alexis, Carol said, kneeling as I scrambled for the pieces, hands shaking. Accidents happen to everyone. No one gets hurt for them here. It took weeks to trust her, to stop jumping at sudden moves or saying sorry for rules I imagined. My healing went beyond my body. The welts on my back faded to pink scars, later silver. But my trust and safety took longer to mend. I met Dr. Rivera, a trauma therapist, twice a week. At first, I sat quiet, too scared to relive my pain. "We can just sit," Dr. Rivera said in our 3rd session after my silent half-hour. "Healing's on your time, not mine." Her patience broke through. "Do you know how it feels?" I asked. "To fear your own home? To watch every word, every step, scared of setting off violence?" "I haven't lived it," she said honestly. "But I've helped many who have. I believe you. I believe you changed everything." After years of being dismissed, being believed was huge. Slowly, I opened up about my constant fear, my alertness, my nightmares. Dr. Rivera taught me ways to cope. Grounding tricks to stay in the present, breathing exercises to slow my heart when triggers hit. School became my safe place, not just an escape. Free from home stress, I loved learning. My grades soared from good to great. Mrs. Peterson, my English teacher, saw my writing talent and urged me to join the literary magazine. "Your voice is powerful, Alexis," she said after reading my poem about strength and pain. "It could lift others who feel silent." The Williams showed me what family could mean. Dinner was relaxed, a time to share our days, ups and downs alike. Disagreements happened, but they talked, not threatened. When Carol and Robert argued, it was respectful, no insults, always resolved. "Healthy conflict's normal," Carol said, seeing my worry. "It's how we deal with it that counts." 6 months with the Williams, my social worker shared news of Kevin. He was in therapy at the juvenile facility, working on his actions and his own abuse. "He wants to send you a letter," she said. "You don't have to say yes." I thought it over, talking with Dr. Rivera and the Williams. "What should I do?" I asked Carol one night. "It's your call," she said. "We'll back you. Your healing comes first." After 2 weeks, I agreed to take Kevin's letter. It came in a plain envelope, 3 pages of neat handwriting. He didn't excuse his actions but shared how violence shaped him. Frank started punishing him at 8, getting harsher as he grew. By the time I arrived, Kevin thought violence was normal, even needed. "I'm not justifying what I did," he wrote. "Nothing excuses hurting you. I'm breaking this cycle. I'll never harm anyone again. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you find peace." I didn't reply right away. His words stirred anger but also clarity about the toxic world that nearly broke us both. Mom's updates came officially. She divorced Frank, moved to a small apartment, and attended therapy and parenting classes. Our supervised visits started stiffly, unsure how to connect without Frank's shadow. "I failed you," Mom said on our third visit, facing the truth at last. "I was supposed to keep you safe, but I helped hurt you. Why stay?" I asked, the question that burned for years. Why let it happen? She had no easy answer, just the messy truth of fear, money struggles, broken confidence, and how abuse creeps up so slowly it feels normal. "I thought being perfect would stop his anger," she said. "I believed I was protecting you. When that didn't work, I tried taking his anger myself to spare you kids." She wiped tears. I was so wrong. Forgiveness didn't happen overnight for me. It wasn't like flipping a switch or waking up one day with all the hurt washed away. Instead, it built slowly, piece by piece, in those quiet moments during our visits. Mom would sit across from me, her eyes meeting mine without that old shadow of fear. She owned her mistakes outright. No excuses, no blame shifting. She'd say things like, "I should have left sooner," or "I let my own fears blind me to yours." And she never pushed me to forgive her just to ease her guilt. She understood that my healing had its own pace. She proved her change through simple actions. Showing up on time every visit, listening when I spoke, asking about my day without prying into the pain. Those consistent steps made me see she was truly different now. One visit, she brought a photo album from my early years, before everything went wrong. We flipped through pictures of me as a toddler, laughing with my biological dad. "I want you to remember the good parts too," she said softly. It wasn't about erasing the bad, it was about rebuilding trust. Over months, those small gestures added up. I started sharing more about school, my foster family, even my therapy sessions. Forgiveness crept in like dawn light, not all at once, but enough to warm the cold spots in my heart. At my 8th grade award ceremony, the auditorium buzzed with parents and kids. I stood on stage, holding that academic achievement plaque, my hands still a bit shaky from nerves. When they called my name, I glanced out into the crowd. There were Carol and Robert Williams, cheering like I was their own blood, clapping so hard I could hear them over the rest. Their smiles beamed pride, the kind that made me feel truly seen. A few rows back, Mom sat quietly, not drawing attention, but her smile was unmistakable, genuine, full of that quiet pride only a mother can have. She didn't wave or shout. She just nodded when our eyes met, as if saying, "You did this." That moment bridged the gap a little more, showing me healing wasn't just about words, but about showing up in the milestones. Seeing her there didn't erase the past, but it added a layer to our story. After the ceremony, she waited outside, handing me a small card with a note inside. "Proud of the strong young woman you're becoming." No pressure, just acknowledgement. It was one of those small moments where forgiveness felt a bit more real. That summer, before high school kicked off, I made a choice that even surprised me. I'd been thinking about Kevin a lot, his letter, the therapy he was doing. With Dr. Rivera's guidance, we talked through my feelings. The anger, the curiosity, the fear of reopening wounds. "It's your decision," she said. "But if it helps your healing, it's worth considering." The Williams backed me too, offering to drive me if I wanted. So I asked to visit him at the juvenile facility. It wasn't about fixing everything. It was about facing the past on my terms. Counselors arranged it carefully, a neutral room with soft chairs arranged in a circle, windows letting in sunlight over a small garden outside. No bars in sight, just a space for talking. I walked in, heart pounding but determined. Kevin stood up when he saw me, but he didn't step closer. He respected the boundaries we'd set. No hugs, no sudden moves. His face was thinner, his athletic build from baseball days leaner now. Like the weight of everything had carved him down. Gone was the cocky glare. His eyes held something softer, more humbled. "Thanks for coming," he said simply, his voice steady but quiet. We sat, and for 45 minutes, we talked. Not diving deep into the horror of that night, but about the present. He shared about his therapy sessions, how he was unpacking the abuse he'd endured from Frank too. I told him about my new home with the Williams, the books I was reading to escape, my plans for high school. He mentioned working toward his GED, studying in the quiet hours. It felt strange at first, like chatting with a stranger who knew too much, but it eased as we went. Near the end, he looked at me straight and asked the big question weighing on him. Can you ever forgive me? I paused, weighing my words. I'm working on it, I said honestly. Not for you, but for me. Holding on to hate drains the energy I need for my own healing. It wasn't a full yes, but it was truth. He nodded slowly, like he understood he didn't deserve more. As I got up to leave, he added one last thing. I'm proud of you, Alexis, for being stronger than all of us. Those words lingered with me on the drive home, a mix of complicated feelings, but also a step toward closure. High school hit like a fresh breeze. Walking into those halls, I felt like I could breathe easier. Few of my new classmates knew my history, the court case, the foster moves. And the ones who did? They respected my privacy, never prying or whispering. It was a clean slate, and I grabbed it. I joined the debate team on a whim, discovering I had a knack for breaking down arguments, speaking clearly under pressure. Those skills felt like armor, turning my voice into something powerful instead of silenced. Practices were intense but fun, researching topics, practicing rebuttals with teammates. One debate on social issues hit close to home, but I channeled it into strong points that won us the round. My teammates became friends, the kind who invited me over without questions about my past. It was normalcy I'd craved for so long. My English teacher, Mr. Hayes, earlier it was Mrs. Peterson, let me correct to match, noticed my way with words early on. After a class essay on resilience, he pulled me aside. You have a future in law or psychology, he said. Fields where you could help people who've been through trauma like yours. His words planted a seed, making me see my pain as potential fuel for good. The Williams encouraged it too, helping me research colleges during family dinners. They formally asked me to stay with them until graduation. And I accepted with such relief and gratitude. Their home was my anchor. Steady meals, quiet evenings, no eggshells to walk on. Mom and I were mending our bond slowly, but we both knew the Williams' stability was key for my progress. Visits with her grew warmer, less awkward, as she shared her own therapy wins. On my 16th birthday, Carol and Robert surprised me with a soft leather journal. Nothing like the harsh belt from my past. It was bound smooth, pages crisp and inviting. Inside the cover, Carol's handwriting read, "Your story matters. All of it. The pain and the healing. One day, it might light the way for someone else lost in darkness." That gift hit deep. It wasn't just paper. It was permission to own my narrative. That night, alone in my room, I opened it and started writing. Not just the trauma, the basement, the belt, the blood, but the recovery too. The first kind words from a foster parent, the breakthrough in therapy, the award on stage. Rebuilding a life I once thought shattered forever felt real on those pages. Each entry reclaimed a bit of me from the silence imposed by fear. Writing became my ritual, a way to process without drowning. Some nights, I'd fill pages with anger, others with hope. It helped me see patterns, like how small acts of kindness stacked up against years of hurt. Now, at 28, I look back and see how far that journal carried me. I hold a master's degree in psychology, earned through late nights and determination. My career? Counseling survivors of family violence, sitting with them in their darkest moments, helping them find light. It's not always easy, some stories echo mine too closely, but it's my purpose. The scars on my back have faded to thin silver lines, like faint whispers of the past. You'd have to know where to look to see them. They don't define me anymore, just remind me of survival. My emotional scars have softened over time too. Therapy helped, but life tested it. Certain triggers, a loud voice, a sudden slam, can still yank me back to that basement, heart racing, breath short. But I have tools now, deep breaths, grounding myself in the present. My office is designed for safety, every detail intentional. Soft lighting casts a warm glow, not harsh like those basement fluorescents. Comfy chairs invite relaxation, no hard edges or reminders of pain. No weight benches or gym equipment that could evoke bad memories for clients, or me. A small phoenix sculpture rises from ashes on my desk, a college graduation gift from the Williams. It's my daily symbol of rebirth. Clients often notice it and ask, "Where did you find your strength? How did you move forward after everything?" My answer is simple yet layered. I moved forward because standing still meant letting the past win. I couldn't change what happened, so I chose to build beyond it. Strength came from rejecting the story my abusers scripted for me. One of weakness, silence, and shame. But honestly, I didn't do it solo. It took a village of believers who saw my worth when I couldn't. Miss Thompson, that gym teacher who spotted my avoidance and didn't ignore it. She acted, starting the chain that saved me. The Johnsons, my first foster stop, gave me immediate safety, wrapping me in warmth when I was raw. Then the Williams stepped in, showing me family as support, not control. Patient, kind, consistent. Dr. Rivera walked me through trauma's maze with unwavering patience, teaching me to navigate my mind without getting lost. Sarah, my guardian ad litem, fought fiercely in court, her voice strong when mine trembled. They formed my safety net, catching me in freefall, and a ladder, rung by rung, to climb out. Without them, my path might have crumbled. Mom and I? We've built something new, rooted in honesty, free from fear's grip. No more walking on eggshells. We talk openly now, even about hard things. She completed her therapy, held on to sobriety after dipping into alcohol during the divorce chaos. Now she advocates for domestic violence awareness, speaking to women's groups about red flags she overlooked. "I can't change what I did to you," she told me once, "but I can make sure it doesn't happen to another child." Her work inspires me, turning her regret into action. We meet for coffee sometimes, laughing over small things, healing in layers. Frank. He served 4 years in prison for child endangerment and domestic violence. When he got out, he moved to another state. I set a firm boundary, no contact, and I've stuck to it. Some wounds close better with distance. No reopening needed. Kevin's road was more winding. Those 3 years in juvenile detention, packed with intensive therapy, changed him. He earned his GED there, then pushed for a social work degree. Today, he works with at-risk youth, focusing on boys showing early violent signs, guiding them away from the path he took. We email now and then, sharing updates without digging too deep. We've met in person a handful of times, neutral spots like coffee shops. Our relationship isn't like typical siblings, but it's evolved into respect, maybe even understanding, far from those dark basement days. "That belt left scars on both of us," he said last meeting. "Just different kinds." His words ring true. We both carry marks, but we've chosen to learn from them. The most powerful lesson from all this? Cycles can be broken. The violence that twisted my childhood didn't have to chain my future. I made a deliberate choice to snap it, opting for compassion instead of control, open talks over silent fear. It's in how I listen to clients, how I parent my own thoughts, how I build relationships now. No more hiding, no more power plays. Forgetting the past isn't my aim. In fact, remembering keeps me sharp. My experiences shape my counseling every day, letting me spot pain in others that hides well. Subtle signs like withdrawn eyes or hesitant words. But I balance it carefully, not letting memories consume me. It's a daily practice. Journaling, therapy check-ins, moments of gratitude. I often think back to that courtroom hush when photos of my injuries flashed up. The room froze as people faced what discipline really meant for a child. Brutal wrong. That silence screamed agreement. This was utterly wrong. No debate. Justice struck deeper than any belt, not with hate or payback, but with raw truth, accepted harm, and paths to mend. The system, which fails so many vulnerable kids, clicked for me because key adults refused the easy out. Miss Thompson didn't shrug off my gym excuses. Sarah didn't back down in court. They chose to act. If you're watching and my story echoes yours, know this. You're not alone. Help exists, even if it feels hidden. Abuse feeds on silence and loneliness. Shattering that is terrifying, but it's the first step to freedom. Reach out to a teacher who listens, a counselor at school, a friend's parent who seems safe. Anyone who might step in. You deserve a home free of fear. You deserve kindness without strings. You deserve justice that protects. Have you witnessed someone stand against family abuse? What would you do if you suspected a child was in danger? Share in the comments. Your thoughts could spark awareness and save lives. If this video touched you, hit like. Subscribe for more stories of turning pain into power. And share it with someone who needs to hear healing is real. In this fight against family violence, your voice counts. Thank you for witnessing my journey. May it fuel strength for your own. Forgiveness didn't come to me in a rush. It wasn't some big, dramatic moment where everything clicked and the pain vanished. No, it built gradually, in those little glimpses during our monthly visits. Mom would sit there, looking me in the eye, admitting her wrongs without any deflection. I chose Frank over you too many times, she'd say, her voice steady but laced with regret. She never pressured me to let it go just so she could feel better. Instead, she let me lead, respecting my space. Her actions spoke louder, showing up every time on time, with no excuses. She'd ask about my schoolwork or my therapy, listening without interrupting. Those consistent efforts showed me she was changing, not just talking about it. One afternoon, after a tough session where I shared how her words that night, "Be grateful we feed you," had cut so deep, she nodded and said, "I was wrong to say that. I was scared, but that's no excuse." No defensiveness, just ownership. Over the months, these honest exchanges chipped away at my walls. I started opening up more, sharing bits of my new life with the Williams. Forgiveness felt like a slow thaw, warming places in me that had been frozen for years. At my 8th grade award ceremony, the gym was packed with families, the air buzzing with chatter and flashes from phones. I stood on stage, gripping that shiny plaque for academic achievement, my heart pounding from the spotlight. As the principal handed it to me, I scanned the crowd. There were Carol and Robert Williams, right in the middle section, clapping wildly like I'd won an Olympic medal. Their cheers cut through the noise, making me smile despite my nerves. They'd become my rock, treating me like their own. A few rows behind them, Mom sat quietly, not drawing any attention to herself. But her smile, wide, genuine, full of that quiet pride, lit up her face. She didn't stand or wave. She just locked eyes with me for a second, nodding as if to say, "This is all you." It was her first time at one of my events since everything fell apart, and seeing her there, supporting without overwhelming, added another layer to our healing. After, she waited outside, handing me a simple card. "You earned this," it read. No over-the-top gestures, just real acknowledgement. That moment made forgiveness feel a bit more solid, like we were building something new together. That summer, right before high school started, I did something that even caught me off guard. I'd been mulling over Kevin's letter for weeks, reading it again and again. The words about breaking the cycle stuck with me, stirring a mix of anger and curiosity. In therapy, Dr. Rivera helped me unpack it. "What do you hope to gain from seeing him?" she asked. We talked through the risks, the potential triggers, the emotions that might flood back. But I felt ready to face it, to close that chapter on my terms. The Williams supported me fully, offering to drive and wait if needed. So, I requested a visit at the juvenile facility. The counselors set everything up thoughtfully. It wasn't a cold visiting room. Instead, they chose a neutral space with comfortable chairs arranged casually. Windows overlooking a small garden blooming with flowers. Sunlight filtered in, softening the edges. I walked in, my stomach in knots, but determined not to show it. Kevin stood when he saw me, but he didn't move closer. He respected the boundaries we'd agreed on beforehand, no physical contact, no raised voices. He looked so different from the brother I remembered. His once athletic build was leaner, almost fragile, like the facility had stripped away his old confidence. The arrogance was gone. His eyes held a quiet humility. "Thanks for coming," he said simply, his voice even, no trace of the old snap. We sat, and for 45 minutes, the conversation flowed easier than I expected. We steered clear of the basement night mostly, focusing on the now. He opened up about his therapy, how he was learning to unpack the abuse Frank had inflicted on him too. I shared about my life with the Williams, the books I was devouring to escape reality, my excitement for high school classes. He told me about his GED studies, how he spent quiet evenings reading textbooks. It felt surreal, like talking to a distant relative rather than the person who'd caused so much pain. But it was honest, no pretense. Near the end, he leaned forward slightly and asked the question I knew was coming. Can you ever forgive me? I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. I'm working on it, I said honestly. Not for your sake, but for mine. Holding on to hate takes too much energy that I need for my own healing. He nodded slowly, his face showing he got it, that he didn't deserve a quick yes. There was relief in his eyes, though, like my honesty was enough for now. As I stood to leave, he added one more thing. I'm proud of you, Alexis, for being stronger than all of us. Those words hung with me on the way home, a complicated mix of validation and unresolved feelings. The visit didn't erase the past, but it gave me power over it. I'd chosen to go, and that made all the difference. High school opened up like a new world for me. Stepping into those crowded hallways on the first day, I felt a sense of possibility I hadn't known before. Most of my classmates had no idea about my history, the court battles, the foster shifts, and the few who did from middle school kept it to themselves, respecting my space. It was liberating, like shedding an old skin. I dove in, signing up for clubs and classes that sparked my interest. The debate team caught my eye early on. I'd always been good at thinking on my feet, but now I discovered I could articulate arguments with clarity and persuasion that turned heads. Our first practice debate was on school policies, and I found myself building a case step by step, countering points without missing a beat. My teammates noticed, pulling me into more rounds. Wins started stacking up, and with them, a confidence I'd never had at home. Debates became my outlet, channeling the logic I'd honed from survival into something constructive. Friendships formed too, real ones, where we'd hang out after school, talking about everything but my past unless I brought it up. My English teacher, Mrs. Peterson, became a mentor without even trying. She'd read my essays and poems, pulling me aside after class. You have a gift for capturing emotion, she'd say. One day, after a piece on overcoming adversity, she suggested careers in law or psychology. You could help others who face trauma like you, she said. It clicked. My experiences weren't just burdens. They could be tools to lift others. I started researching programs, dreaming of a future where I turned pain into purpose. The Williams cheered me on, helping with applications and study sessions around the kitchen table. They made it official one evening, asking if I'd stay with them through graduation. Your family, Carol said simply. I accepted with tears of gratitude and relief. It meant stability, no more uprooting. Mom and I were healing our bond, but we both knew the Williams home provided the steady ground I needed to thrive. Our visits grew more natural, with her sharing her progress and me opening up about school highs and lows. Mom's improvement was steady, a quiet transformation. She threw herself into therapy, facing her own traumas head-on. During the divorce, she stumbled briefly with alcohol, using it to numb the stress, but she caught herself recommitting to sobriety with support groups. Now, she channels that energy into advocacy, speaking at women's groups about domestic violence. She breaks down the warning signs she ignored: the control, the isolation, the gradual escalation. I can't change what happened to you, she told me during one heartfelt talk, but I can help make sure it doesn't happen to someone else's child. Her words carried weight, turning her regrets into warnings for others. Hearing her speak publicly for the first time was powerful. I sat in the back of a community center, watching her stand tall, sharing her story without shame. It inspired me, showing how far she'd come. Our relationship deepened through these shared steps. Honest conversations over coffee, no more secrets. Frank's chapter closed differently. He served 4 years in prison for child endangerment and domestic violence, the court holding him accountable for directing the abuse. When he was released, he packed up and moved to another state, starting over far away. I set a clear boundary: no contact, and I've maintained it without waver. Some wounds, like the ones he caused, heal best with permanent distance. I don't track his life, I focus on mine. Kevin's path twisted more than anyone's. Those 3 years in juvenile detention weren't easy. Intensive therapy forced him to confront the cycle Frank had instilled. He emerged changed, earning his GED with determination, then pursuing a degree in social work. Today, he dedicates his days to at-risk youth, especially boys showing early signs of violent behavior. He spots the patterns he once lived, guiding them toward healthier choices. We keep in touch sporadically through email, updates on life, nothing too heavy. We've met in person a handful of times, always in public spots like parks or cafes. Our connection isn't the sibling bond most have. It's cautious, built on mutual respect and shared scars. During our last meeting over coffee, he looked at me and said, "That belt left scars on both of us. Just different kinds." It was raw, acknowledging how Frank's abuse shaped us both, but we'd chosen different paths out. The biggest lesson etched into me from all this is that cycles can be shattered. The violence that poisoned my childhood, the belts, the bruises, the fear, didn't have to dictate my tomorrow. I made a deliberate choice to break it, building a life rooted in compassion instead of control, in open dialogue rather than silent threats. It shows in how I approach my clients, listening without judgment, empowering them to rewrite their stories. Forgetting isn't part of the plan. In fact, remembering keeps my work sharp. Those experiences let me detect hidden pain in others, the subtle flinches, the averted eyes, that might slip by unnoticed. It's like a quiet superpower, turning my past into a tool for empathy. But I tread carefully, not letting memories overwhelm me. It's a daily balance. Mornings with meditation, evenings journaling triggers. I often revisit that courtroom moment, the heavy silence when my injury photos appeared. The room held its breath as faces registered the horror. What had been done to a child under the guise of discipline? That quiet was a unified verdict. This was wrong, no excuses. Justice landed with force greater than any physical blow. Not through spite or payback, but through exposed truth, accepted harm, and opened doors to healing. The system, flawed and often failing kids in need, aligned for me because certain adults refused to turn away. Miss Thompson could have ignored my gym excuses. Sarah could have taken an easier case. But they chose action, proving one person's stand can shift everything. If my words resonate, if this story mirrors your own hidden struggles, remember, you're not isolated. Help is out there, waiting for your voice. Abuse flourishes in the shadows of silence and loneliness. Piercing that veil is frightening, but it's the key to change. Reach out to a trusted teacher, a school counselor, a friend's understanding parent. Anyone who might listen and act. You deserve a world without fear. You deserve genuine care. You deserve justice that safeguards your future. Have you ever seen someone challenge family abuse head-on? What steps would you take if you suspected a child was suffering? Drop your thoughts in the comments. They could ignite awareness and truly save lives. If this video stirred something in you, give it a like. Subscribe to hear more tales of resilience and survival. And share it with someone who might need this reminder today. In the battle against family violence, your voice is a powerful weapon. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May my story spark the strength you need for yours.